Hey, it's Jimmy with Six String Country. Today's course, we're going to be going over 10 of my go-to country bass licks. It's going to be a little different than some of the other courses where we kind of have like full songs and we learn the main groove and then we come back and learn some licks on top of it. This is just going to be focused on the licks. So it's just going to start out simple and then we're going to immediately start building on top with licks. And, we're going to go over some right hand, left hand technique as far as like, what am I doing on this side and this side, which is, there's definitely a framework you want to stay in with your technique, but it's also kind of to each their own as far as what feels comfortable to you. But we're definitely going to go over what feels comfortable for me and how I do it. And all in all, it's going to be a really fun lesson. And let's get going. All right, so we're going to start off with our first example here. And basically, you have the sheet music that you can follow along on, and usually I just kind of take things section by section and just kind of, say what note to play here and there. Because these are licks, and I'm going to focus a little more time on them. And, we'll go ahead, and the first line of each of these examples has just the basic bass groove in it without any kind of licks. You're just literally playing whole notes pretty much, or quarter notes, whatever, along with the rest of the band. So let's start in on line one here. I'm going to play through it for you. And then we'll just kind of talk through it note for note and move on to the next section like that. So here is basically what's called the progression. And like I said, this is no licks, and I'm just going to play it through real quick for you. I don't have a click track or anything, so it's not going to be specifically to tempo. Just want you to kind of hear and get an idea of the progression. But here we go. 2, 3, 4. All right, and that's basically first line of the sheet music is just the progression. So we're just playing 8 notes. We're in the key of G. We start out on the low G, so it's E3, and we're just playing 8th notes through here, and then sliding up to the 7th fret on the A string, and then going down to the 3rd fret on the A string. And then the next time around, it does the same progression, but this time it goes down to an open E instead of the 7th fret. So basically it's the same progression, one time up and then one time low. So we've got the 8 notes on E3, and then we just slide up to A7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 on that right there. 4 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we slide down to A3. And then back to E3 for 8 8th notes. And then open E. And then A3. And basically, most of the time when I'm doing 8th notes or less, basically, anything that's not a 16th or like a fast triplet or something, I find that I pretty much just use my first finger. And don't really get into the second finger unless I'm needing to go faster. And reason being is, anytime you're alternating fingers, there's going to be a slight difference in how your fingers sound, simply because your fingers are, slightly different sizes, and how hard you're hitting it could be different. So I feel like it's easier to get a consistent 8th note or, consistent sound on the same string with just my first finger. And sometimes if I have to jump to the next string, I'll bring in my second finger for that. But on the first string, I just feel like I kind of get my other fingers out of the way and I just kind of play this thing, and that's how I get the most consistent strike. And then on a on a left hand, on this basic progression, I'm just kind of holding, and anytime I'm holding one note for a long time, I use like multiple fingers just to kind of almost like get a grip on it right there when I'm sliding around. Some people may want, to play and keep your hand in this position where you can kind of go between the, 4 frets, so it's easily separated. But I feel like I just get a nice consistent thing. And when I'm sliding from here up to the 7th fret on the A, I'm technically catching it with this finger, but I've still got these like that. And it's helping mute this string, because sometimes In this case, it's an octave, so it's not a terrible thing, but you can get these undertones that happen. So I feel like with this, my other strings are muted here with this part of my hand, and then everything is muted besides that one string. And that helps you get, like I said, you don't have these weird low rattling things. It's stuff that you don't hear as much live, but if you're in the studio and you're soloing the track, you'd be like, what is that crazy, you got the low B string, it's just kind of rattling out because of the vibrations of the bass. So really, a lot of times if you see me not doing this, it's just because I'm practicing a muting technique that I've come up with. And obviously any muting technique you want, some people will mute with other fingers back here. I just have learned to kind of mute that way. So, and I'm kind of going to go a little more in depth on the right and left hand stuff on this first example than the other ones, just because I want to just kind of explain how I'm doing things, and then you can go from there on your own. So that's basically how we do the progression. Open E, A3. And I think now we've got that main progression down. We can go ahead and jump to the first lick. And basically, just like with the first line, I'm going to play through the first lick for you, and then we'll go through it note for note. 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's the first kind of lick over that progression. And we'll go ahead and jump into the second line of the sheet music where it says lick 2, and basically, where it says lick 1. And we start on the same spot because we're basically just doing the same progression and adding a different lick in each time. So we're going to start on that E3, and then we do 16th notes right at the end. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, da da. 2, 3. And you see right there, when I do those 16th notes, I'm grabbing that other one with my right finger just because it's kind of hard to go. And it gives separation. So, dun, dun, dun. And then slide 5 to 7. And I usually slide with my pinky finger, just like this. And then you just catch with your first finger, A5, and then D5, and then A7. And I'm grabbing, so these are all with my first finger, and then I grab A7 with my pinky, and then I'm going to slide down. We're sliding down to A3, same as the progression, and we just go. So once again, we're getting into some 16th notes there, so I'm grabbing the other string with my second finger. And the second time around, the lick starts out similar, but it goes down to into a lower octave. So start out on E3, and then we're going to go da-da, same thing again, and then we're going to go 5, 7, 5, all slides. So you only strike the string once. And then you go down to E3 to open E. So and then we're going to go a 2 to 3 slide on the E string, which I usually do with all my slides, this kind of pinky thing. So I'll go, so da, and then I'll grab this with my ring finger. And then you can grab that with my index finger. And then you can move your index finger right back up into A3. And then we're going between A3, E3, A3, E3, A3, A5, and you grab that one with your pinky. All those E3 and A3s were done just with my index finger, and I'm just kind of rocking it back and forth between the two. that's basically the first half of the lick. And then we get into measure 7, starting out still on E3, just like we did before, down to open E, and that's the second half. So basically, that's the first lick there. We'll just go ahead and move on to lick 2 now. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I went ahead and played through that one twice for you. At the end of that lick, we actually have a key change, and we're going to go through and play all the licks again in a separate key. Let's go back to lick 2 real quick and just kind of go through that note for note. Basically, we're just kind of moving the eighth notes through different harmonies on top of what would be the root note. So instead of sitting here, dun 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 dun, we've got dun, 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 dun. So we're kind of moving melodically, but within the chord. So we're not making up our like a different melody than what's being sung per se in the song, but just kind of going along melodically with the chord structure. So first finger, and then that's E3, E5 pinky, E7 pinky, and then I slide like I have been with my pinky, and you grab that A10, A9, down to A8, and then here I'm going to be using my 4 fingers in this kind of standard positioning. So and then back down to E3. And I'm still doing all those right hand with just my first finger. So you can use 1 or 2 if it's more comfortable to switch back and forth. And then the second half of the lick, we kind of, we're repeating the same lick just in a lower octave. So E3, A5, A7, and then we just slide down to E2, and then open E. So, and then we do E3, E2, open E, and then A2 to A3, and then on A3 to E3, to A3 to E3. So basically what we did the first time, the lick ends the same way as the first lick did. And then right here we go into our new key, and we're just going up a whole step into A now. And basically, I just kind of wanted to move it to a different part of the neck, just to kind of show you how it felt to play the same lick in a different key, to where you didn't just get stuck kind of memorizing playing it in that one area. And obviously you can move any of these licks around. The beauty about the bass, unlike the guitar, everything's tuned equally. You don't have that annoying high B string that's different than everything else. So it's, all works the same. As long as you have strings left, you can move stuff around and do the same lick in pretty much any key. So we're going to go ahead and start again with the actual bass groove itself in this new key, and I'm going to play through that for you, and then we'll go through it note for note. 2, 3, 4. All right, so identical to the first time we went through this, we're just playing it all 2 strings up. We don't have an open string anymore because we've moved things up. So basically, we're starting out on E5 and then sliding up to A9 and A5. And then this time we slide down to E2 and then up to A5. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that just because we dug into it a little earlier in the other key. And like I said, we're just kind of doing everything up 2 strings. So instead of that open E, your low string is going to be the E2 or F sharp up to A5. All right, let's go ahead and get into the first lick in the new key. I'm going to play through that for you, and then we'll go through it note for note. 2, 3, 4. All right, so in the new key, we're starting out on E5. Doing that 7 to 9 slide. And then D7. And then we're gonna grab A9. Slide down to A5. And we're doing the same first finger, A5, E5. You grab the 7 up here, A7, with your pinky. And then the same slide where you just one strike and for the 3 notes, but this time it's 7, 9, 7. So E5, back down to E5 and then to E2. And you're just doing E4, 5, A4, A5, and then what we've been doing, the A5 to E5. And those are actually slid at the end there instead of it's, or if that's more comfortable for you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play the final lick of this example, and then we'll go through it note for note. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so we're starting out on E5, E7, E9, then we slide up to A12, A11, A10. And then just like we did in the other key, where we have our fingers here in this kind of 4 frets and 4 fingers area. So I'm just keeping, anytime I have to hit the note, I'm just keeping that finger there and hitting it. So pinky, ring finger, index finger, pinky. And that time it's middle finger. And then back up to the pinky finger. Ring finger, first finger, pinky finger, and then we're back down to 5, E5, the original note. And then for the lower one, it's E5, E7, E9, and then E4 to E2, and then E5, 4 to A4, A5. So and that's basically it. The licks are all just kind of slightly different from each other. Some, they all end similar, etc. I just kind of wanted you to get the feel for this groove and playing these 2 different licks in 2 different keys. Make sure to check out the Jam Along track. That way you can play along with all the other instruments and see how it feels.